Story 1. The math teacher was too interested in the female students. Rumors of favors for grades were common. One day, he was on the news because a father discovered he was having a relationship with his daughter. The father came to the school and confronted him. The police were called and investigated the allegations, uncovering many issues. Several students came forward after the story aired on the news. Story 2. The one teacher was considered strange and was described as a creep. It turned out he was paying members of the boys' basketball team to do his yard work, and he paid them more if they worked without shirts or in various stages of undress. He took his own life before his trial. Story 3. My high school biology teacher won the lottery but kept teaching. He was very cool. Two of my teachers ran off together, and we never saw them again. Love. Boo school. Since this has received a lot of responses, the teachers were one single male and one married female. The married female did not get a divorce before they ran away. They waited until summer break and left. The rumor was they went to Las Vegas, but actually, they went to his hometown in a northern state in the United States. She eventually got a divorce, they got married, and presumably, at some point, they cheated on each other again if history repeats itself. My biology teacher won the lottery but wore the same clothes and drove the same car as before. However, we later learned that he drove that car to a mansion in a much nicer school district. He was a great teacher who taught me about genetic trait charts in a very grumpy way. He made me love science. Story 4. A double whammy. There was a big bomb threat at my high school in the early 2000s, and a friend of mine just a few years ago confessed to me that she called it in. I heard a rumor like this at the time, but I never questioned her because she was really quiet and reserved. She told me she was just trying to skip the test. It worked. They had us all out on the track all day. There had been another totally separate rumor about a male teacher groping an unnamed female student that he coached for a school sport. Apparently, she was also that girl. It turns out the bomb threat rumor about her existed because the school knew she was responsible. She didn't get in any trouble because litigation about the assault between the school and her family had already begun. She told me all this casually over breakfast at a diner like it was nothing. Story 5. The high school principal was having an affair with his secretary. People found out, and the students started spreading rumors about it everywhere. His last name was Day, and her first name was Rosie, so everyone would say, "Have a rosy day," to him. Kids were spray painting it around the school. It was a small town, so it was wild to watch it unfold. He ended up getting a divorce and resigning. Looking back, I feel terrible for what his wife probably went through. Story 6. Our director of athletics in middle school was a very uncharismatic lady. She was nicknamed the Dominator, as a play on her name. There was a rumor that she was a lesbian and a rapist. I thought it was just kids being mean to an unattractive adult. Then two girls came forward and said she assaulted them in the women's locker room after sports practice. The nickname was no longer funny. Story 7. The 65-year-old eccentric hippie art teacher was involved with a student. She graduated, attended teacher training for several years, returned to teach sex education at our high school, and married him. Story 8. Our married science teacher and our single, beloved language arts teacher were having an affair. The school found out and reprimanded both of them. He threw a fit in the hallway for the entire class to hear and got himself fired. His wife divorced him and moved away with their two sons. The other teacher was a very sweet, lonely woman and was not treated too badly in the aftermath. She took accountability but was clearly heartbroken. She remained single until she passed. Story 9. My senior year, there was a rumor going around that one girl was a prostitute and that she would walk the streets in the city. I had her in one of my classes, and she would just put her head down and sleep the entire time. A group of us decided to take 2 or 3 cars and cruise around the city to see if we could find her. We did. Poor girl, she was really pretty, and it makes me sick to think that she was just a child being exploited every night. Story 10. I was in 7th grade. There was a rumor that a girl disappeared from school because she gave birth. It was true. I was in 8th grade. There was a rumor that a girl had disappeared from school because she was caught by her mother talking to a predator online, planned to meet him for sex that morning, and was committed to a mental institution. turned out to be true. Story 11. The year was 1985. Our high school chemistry teacher was losing weight, and we joked that he had acquired immune deficiency syndrome. He did, and he died a few years later. It was very sad because he was an incredible teacher. Story 12. At my high school, a student with really bad taste started making jokes about our head teacher having cancer. This sweet, joking, and friendly older man disappeared one day out of nowhere. Turned out he did have cancer. The same student made a bad joke about him, saying, "I hope he dies." And he died the next day. I can't get over it. Story 13. The art teacher was having an inappropriate relationship with the shop teacher. The shop teacher was married to the Spanish teacher. The Spanish teacher confronted the art teacher and the shop teacher at lunch and reprimanded them in Spanish in front of the senior class. Story 14. Mrs. Crabapple and Principal Skinner were in the closet. I saw one of the babies, and the baby looked at me. Story 15. I heard a rumor that a very large, obnoxious girl in the senior class was sleeping with the science teacher everyone admired. Nobody believed it at first because Jen was kind of a repulsive person. Jen bragged about sex all the time, sex with classmates, random guys she met, older men, and so on. She was always going on about how much sex she had. We all figured she was lying. Later that year, the teacher was investigated and terminated for having an inappropriate sexual relationship with a student. He ended the relationship and she reported him. The board did not specify which student it was, but Jen confirmed it very loudly in study hall one day. People were absolutely shocked. Story 16. Not me but my sister. She said there was a rumor going around that a teacher was involved with a girl in her class. It went as far as the teacher addressing the class, telling them nothing was going on and to stop spreading rumors. Years later, my sister and I were at the mall when we saw the teacher and the former student holding hands. I guess the rumor was true. Story 17. There was a whole movie made about mine. The superintendent was alleged to be stealing millions of dollars. While he told people he had a deceased wife, he was living a very lavish lifestyle with his partner. He was found guilty of embezzlement. Story 18. Our Spanish teacher was always awful to one student, Corey. Corey was difficult, constantly in in-house suspension, so I understood why the administration never believed him when he said he was being targeted. But in class, it got to the point where even some of us stuck up for him against this teacher. It was just unnecessary. It turns out the Spanish teacher was a student teacher to Corey's mom. They had an affair, but she ended it and eventually married Corey's dad, and they had Corey. This teacher was harassing Corey more than 20 years later because their previous relationship did not work out. Story 19. One of the wrestlers was sleeping with the transgender girl. This was back in the 2000s when transgender kids were not visible at school and everybody openly bullied gay people with little pushback, so it was a pretty wild rumor. But it turned out to be true. The wrestler had been hazing this girl for most of senior year, but she responded just as much, and eventually they figured out what it was all about. Nobody knew if it was real until somebody photographed the two of them in his car. He never denied it and actually started supporting her for the rest of our senior year, which was pretty cool. I have no idea where she ended up, unfortunately, but I know that the wrestler is now married with children. Story 20. Our school counselor was a child molester. We called him Pedo Paul as a joke until he was arrested for having an unfathomable amount of pornography on his computer. Pedo Paul's fate was predicted by a group of 16-year-olds. Story 21. The science teacher was a pedophile. It turned out to be true, and he had also been having an affair with the earth science teacher, who was married. He ended up killing himself and she got divorced. Eventually, she was caught having a relationship with a student. She now works at a diner, and I avoid making eye contact with her when I am there. Story 22. In the early 2000s, one of the high school language teachers, whom we will call Mr. Smith for this story, was suddenly absent. Students came up with various stories, including that he was arrested for multiple offenses such as drug possession, public intoxication, and assaulting a police officer. Other teachers would become very upset if anyone asked questions about him, simply saying Mr. Smith was sick. Things remained quiet until he appeared as the top story on every local news station one night. I was at Applebee's with friends when suddenly he was on the bar television. I remember my friend yelling, "Mr. Smith messed up." It turned out Mr. Smith had taken several different substances, became loud, and his neighbors asked him to quiet down. He did not comply and eventually locked himself out of his own house. A neighbor called the police after seeing Mr. Smith banging on his own door, as he lived alone. When the police arrived, Mr. Smith tried to resist them and was subsequently arrested and charged. Story 23. Unfortunately, the rumor was about me. My cousin and I went to the same school, so like the jerk he is, he told a bunch of classmates I was probably suicidal, and that's why I always wore long sleeves or gloves. My father is a terrible person, so whenever he needed an excuse to avoid something, he would tell people he needed to keep an eye on me so I wouldn't hurt myself. When I disappeared during the first semester finals of senior year, my cousin told everyone I was in a mental hospital. He told everyone I had tried to hang myself in the girls' bathroom, which was true. He learned it from my father and made sure the whole school knew. The rumor split into 3 versions. I actually died on campus, and that's why I wasn't seen anymore. B. My father had tried to kill me, which was also true. And C. I was never suicidal, and the reason everyone saw me taken away in the back of a police car was because I had tried to kill someone else. I was rushed to the hospital in a cop car after the school called emergency services and the police arrived first. To this day, some of my former classmates think I died senior year. I have changed my name since graduation, so the fact that no one talks about Marilyn anymore gives some credibility to the rumor. It also doesn't help that many of my classmates remember I used to be a twin. My twin has since died, so it gets really messy trying to remind people that I'm the twin the rumor was about. I've given up on sorting everything out. For all I care, Marilyn is dead. Story 24. My 9th grade English teacher, who was 23 at the time, got pregnant on purpose so the boys would stop hitting on her in class. I always thought it was just what the boys who hit on her the most said because they did not like that she was pregnant and therefore no longer considered the attractive teacher, similar to the fox and the grape situation. That is, until I overheard her in the library office lamenting to another teacher about not being ready to become a mother so young. She said the only reason she got pregnant was to stop students from hitting on her, and to top it off, she was not even sure if she wanted to marry the father. Story 25. The main jock only had 1 testicle. It turned out he really had only 1 testicle, having lost the other to a pencil in his pocket when he was a child. Story 26. Rumors say one of my classmates was involved with her brother. I saw them drunkenly making out with my own eyes 3 years after we graduated high school. Subsequently, I thought, well, the way they were behaving tells me it was not the first time that happened. Story 27. The chorus teacher was rumored to be a little too friendly with female students. It turned out he was the inspiration for the pilot of the television show Glee. Story 28. This girl filmed herself putting a candy cane up her private area. The guy she sent the video to told everyone, and when the rumor spread, he posted it on Snapchat. Story 29. One of the kids in our friend group was a pedophile. Technically, he was a minor, but the rumor was that he was targeting children much younger than him. He was a twin, and both twins were part of the friend group. I will call him Twin A. The rumors about Twin A started when Twin B was dating a girl who notoriously disliked Twin A. We were all certain that Twin B's girlfriend was starting the rumors, which included allegations that Twin A assaulted Twin B, along with younger children. A couple of years later, he was arrested for assaulting his own younger siblings. He was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder or something similar. Once we were all adults and I was far removed from the situation, I read an article that he was arrested again for child pornography. I still feel horrible that none of us believed Twin B when they tried to back up the rumors. I know I was young and didn't know any better, but I feel sick that I ever considered him a friend. Story 30. The rumor was that one of the teachers touched one of the girls inappropriately. The girl was difficult, and the teacher was well liked by the students. However, it was true because he was fired and then took his own life. I remember many of the students being angry at the girl after this happened. Story 31. My 12th grade science teacher was involved with one of her students' married fathers. and was giving him extremely special treatment in class. Story 32. In middle school, a girl was expelled and sent to rehabilitation because a small bag of angel dust fell out of her pocket. This turned out to be true. In high school, a girl had a miscarriage in the bathroom and disposed of the remains in the tampon receptacle. This also turned out to be true. Story 33. There was a rumor that one of our teachers had an affair with a student. That teacher's best friend at the school later wrote a short story published in The New Yorker, which was a thinly veiled telling of that rumor, seemingly confirming it to anyone at my high school. The story was nearly turned into a movie with Owen Wilson and Natalie Portman, but it was never made. Story 34. Back in high school, there was a wild rumor that our history teacher, Mr. Daniels, used to be in a rock band. First, everyone thought it was nonsense. Then, during Spirit Week, someone convinced him to play guitar for the school talent show. He shredded. I'm talking full stage presence, epic solo, hair flips. It turns out he actually toured with a band in the 1990s. They even had a minor radio hit. Story 35. That a girl let her dog lick her. Sadly, a video eventually surfaced showing it. It still disgusts me to this day. Story 36. A group of junior reserve officers training Corps seniors broke into the school and stole the huge banner hanging in the middle quad area, approximately 100 feet by 50 feet, and the taxidermy eagle at the front office. I was told by someone that one of the perpetrators had inappropriate relations on top of it at their house. I was removed from the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps 2 weeks before graduation for pretending to cough, while those individuals hired lawyers and pressured the school to allow them to participate in graduation. Story 37. The driver's education teacher was drinking vodka from his water bottle. He was actually drunk all the time, including while in the car with children to practice road skills. Story 38. The gym teacher was inappropriate. This has happened with 3 of the 5 gym teachers I have had. It is unusual. Story 39. There was a girl in my grade who had a reputation for being a rebellious bad girl. She pursued other girls' boyfriends, partied a lot, stole, and lied about many things. She seemed to thrive on negative attention and often made up dramatic stories. When she claimed she was pregnant, her stepfather beat her until she miscarried and sexually assaulted her. But nobody believed her. It turned out that not only was her story true, he was abusing all the children in the household regardless of age, gender, or biological relation. Unsurprisingly, she grew up to be a troubled person. Story 40. My history teacher in high school was in love with a friend of mine. They started dating openly when she graduated and married a couple of years later. I am 50 years old now and have kept in touch with them. They are still married and have 3 children who are already out of the house. He was 12 years older than her. She is happy and has no regrets. He strongly encouraged her to complete college, and she did. He was a good person. I am pretty sure that they kept things legal until she turned 18. It is wild to think about in hindsight. Story 41. There was a rumor that the environmental science teacher was inappropriate with several 9th grade girls. It was confirmed when 2 of the girls became pregnant at the same time. He was married and denied everything, but DNA evidence proved him wrong. He was arrested and his wife divorced him. Story 42. One of the English teachers was trying to connect with students and fantasized about them using a personal adult item she brought to school. Story 43. There was a rumor that my high school principal broke up a marriage by having an affair with the father of a student. This was later believed to be true when, in my final year, she broke up another family by having an affair with my classmate's father. Story 44. There was a brother and sister who used to say, "My dad says if we don't behave, we'll end up under the patio with our sister Heather." Turns out she was under the patio after all. If you haven't watched the Fred and Rose West 3-part documentary on Netflix, you should, because that's how they were found out. Jokingly threatening the kids, and all it took was an adult or 2 to believe them. Story 45. We had a science teacher named Mr. Boyd. There were rumors about him and a girl in the grade above me throughout high school. However, everyone laughed it off and did not think it was real. A few years after school, I stopped at an automated teller machine to withdraw some cash and saw the teacher and student shopping at a nearby store. I thought my eyes almost fell out of my head. Turned out the rumors were true. They are still together now, 20 years later. Story 46. Our high school football coach was taking players home to sleep with his wife. It was such an outlandish story that the Weekly World News covered it, a publication known for stories about Bigfoot being abducted by aliens. Later in life, I leased a condominium from one of the players involved in the scandal. Story 47. There was a nuclear fallout shelter under the school that you could only access by going through a secret door in the gym. The school was built in the 1950s, so it was definitely true. There were even signs in the supply closet of the gym, which I saw with my own eyes, clearly indicating that it was a fallout shelter. I did not go down there, but I once looked up historical documents that confirmed it was not only a fallout shelter but one of several in the area. Everyone in the area was given dedicated instructions to head to one if there was ever an inbound nuclear attack. Our small town in Ohio was fully covered if nuclear weapons ever started being used. Story 48. Our substitute Spanish teacher, a 22-year-old male, was in a relationship with a classmate, a 16-year-old male. It was verified when the classmate confirmed the relationship on his 18th birthday. Fast forward, they have now been married for 14 years and together for 17 years, with 3 children. Story 49. The middle school mathematics teacher taught mathematics in his home. It was true, along with the fact that he was a pedophile. Story 50. The rumor that turned out to be true was that the old money family, established for centuries but now considerably diminished, had a beautiful child who was a kleptomaniac. She befriended new money girls only to steal their mother's jewelry when visiting their homes. She was immediately transferred to another school when this was discovered. She had also been dating the world's least attractive gay boy, who was not kind either. He later came out, surprising some of us since many believed he was asexual. We also had a teacher who frequently talked about aliens assaulting him. Story 51. In 7th grade, there was a rumor that a girl was pregnant. She was one of the popular girls. She gave birth to the child the following school year. Story 52. There was a rumor that a 9th grade boy had a sexual encounter at a party with a friend's mother, who was surprisingly young, only in her 20s to be a mother of a teenager. No one knew she was his mother at the party. The truth emerged later that school year when she gave birth to his child. Story 53. A group of kids would bring whatever pills they could find in their homes and take them to school. They would throw the pills in a bowl and then participate in a dangerous challenge called taking Skittles, where they grabbed a handful of pills from the bowl and took them at school. I thought it was just a strange rumor and that no one was actually doing this for fun until a student overdosed at school. Story 54. There were a couple of students who had brief encounters in a science classroom during lunch. This went on for a few weeks before they were caught. Story 55. A male high school science teacher was rumored to be inappropriate, making female students uncomfortable by expressing too much personal interest in them. Eventually, he married a student shortly after she graduated and turned 18. Story 56. There was a rumor that one of our teachers used to be a rock band guitarist. It turns out he actually toured with a famous group in the 1980s. He even brought his guitar one day and played during class. Story 57. I went to Catholic high school. I absolutely hated going there. There were 2 sex scandals while I was there. I will only talk about the first one. It happened in August 2008. One of the big rumors involved my geometry teacher, whom I will call Mr. Sampson. It was literally at the beginning of sophomore year. Mr. Sampson only showed up on the first day of school. A few days passed, and we were wondering where Mr. Sampson was. Rumor had it that he was having an inappropriate relationship with a student on the girls' basketball team. It turned out to be true, and by that Friday he was arrested. We had 6 different teachers for geometry throughout the school year. Story 58. A high school gym teacher was involved in inappropriate relationships with students. It was a widely known rumor in our school, which turned out to be true. One of the victim's mothers discovered the situation and reported her. She had been involved with multiple boys for years. She received minimal consequences, lost her teaching license, and is now a successful realtor. One victim was featured in a Rolling Stone article and appeared on the Dr. Phil show. That same year, our English teacher was fired mid-school year. Students were told it was due to incomplete teaching certifications. However, it was revealed that he was inappropriate with students. He was hired at another school, where he was caught with several 13-year-olds. Some students at our school tried to defend him, but I knew he had been messaging my best friends inappropriately outside of class. He is currently in jail. It is upsetting that both teachers committed similar offenses involving underage students, but only one received significant punishment. Story 59. I had a substitute teacher who covered for some of my teachers during my freshman and sophomore years of high school. During one class, he overheard a girl complain about the way she looked. He went over to her and her group of friends, all girls, and shared his story of how he also had low self-esteem but gained confidence when he got a job as a male stripper. He apparently told the same story to all the other classes he was substituting for, so all the students knew and joked that he wanted the girls to ask him for a lap dance. The summer before junior year, we saw on the news that he was arrested for having sexual contact with underage girls. Story 60. Not a rumor. As a sign of how times have changed, I am a 50-plus-year-old man. I clearly remember our 6th grade teacher telling us that, back in the day, the school staff was aware of a girl who was homeless. Whether she had family or not was never stated. The school staff stayed silent to respect her privacy and dignity. The school would let her in super early in the morning to shower, get fed, wash her clothes in the school laundry room, do her homework, and more. They truly cared for her. I also remember the teacher crying as she spoke. That day and that teacher are forever etched in my memory. Story 61. The rumor was that the young high school math teacher was involved with one of the girls who was a year older than me. She graduated and he left his wife. He and the girl moved to Colorado. They got married, and 2 years later they divorced when she came out as gay. Story 62. I remember many of my elementary school friends really disliked our music school teacher. He always said things in a creepy way and would sometimes put his hands on a student's shoulder. At the time, I was just a kid and thought he was just acting coy with the troublemaking students. The kids called him a creep, but it mostly came from those same classmates. Many years later, I found out he moved to a different state and was arrested as a pedophile at another school. Story 63. Everyone thought the 30-something gym teacher was dating one of his students. She denied it, saying it was a filthy lie. After she graduated and turned 18, they got married. Story 64. There was a rumor that my 9th grade math teacher was homosexual. The school fired him. This was a public school. He sued, got his job back, and last I checked he is out and has a long-term boyfriend or husband. Story 65. The girls' soccer coach in high school was dating twins on the soccer team. They did not know about each other. We thought it was just rumors started by foolish kids. The coach was married with children about the same age. One of the twins ended up getting pregnant. They found out about each other, leading to a huge fight. The pregnant twin kept her baby, and the coach got divorced and married the twin he impregnated. Story 66. The female dean of girls and physical education teacher was gay. At a Catholic school in the 1990s, that was a huge no-no. We all suspected it, but we liked her, so no one said anything. Years later, I ran into her and her partner when I went to lunch with my mother. She looked afraid when I said hello. I would never have outed her. Love is love. I am just sad that she had to hide her real life. Her obituary listed her lifelong best friend. Story 67. There was a senior girl who always hung out with the religion teacher and guidance counselor. Every time I passed by, they were chatting. She graduated and they got married and had children. My friend, who was a junior, dated the student French teacher. She was eventually deported after someone found out. She was very attractive. I did not believe my friend until she was deported. Story 68. Several teachers at my school started dating girls from grade 10. At least one of them married his girlfriend after they graduated. Story 69. A freshman science teacher was spending time with 2 female students, and allowed them to skip their class to hang out with him during his free period. I know because I was one of the students and did not realize what was happening at the time. I just appreciated the attention and special treatment. Story 70. Random equipment began disappearing from various places throughout the school, and no one knew why. We started a rumor that the principal was an alcoholic who was stealing items from the school to sell them and afford liquor. We were right. Story 71. The child who was bullied for acting gay turned out to actually be gay. It just took him a few years to figure it out. Story 72. There was a teacher at my elementary school who was very well liked and respected, but rumor had it that he would snap girls' bra straps. Turned out he was doing more than that. I was supposed to be in his class in 5th grade, but we had a substitute for the entire year instead. Story 73. A student had a shotgun in his locker. This was discovered only after the police raided our school because they found marijuana in the parking lot. They arrested 3 students for distribution and 2 for possessing firearms at school. Story 74. 4 years. There was a rumor that the basketball teacher at my middle school was a creep. Rumor had it that he would spy on the boys or touch them inappropriately, but nothing came of it. Then they searched his house and found $200,000 worth of child pornography on his computer, along with images and videos hidden in the ceiling tiles in his basement. He was also distributing it. Additionally, he had videos that he had taken of the basketball team shirtless. I ended up writing a poem referencing it and posted it on my Facebook. I later got a message from one of my friends that it was my other friend's dad, who was the physical education teacher at my school. I never met him. Her family lived in an upper-class city about 30 minutes away from me, and I would occasionally sleep over there, but her dad was never home. She didn't even attend my high school because it was outside her district. Her dad ended up getting 11 years in prison and passed away a couple of years ago. Story 75. There was a rumor that a teacher was caught by a janitor sleeping with a student. He was not fired but was not asked back the next year. Once she turned 18, they started dating and are now married with 1 child and another on the way. I guess the rumor was true. Good for them. Story 76. I went to school with a student whose father was a science teacher there. His father was caught stealing school equipment when he was arrested for manufacturing methamphetamine. This happened between 2000 and 2002. Everyone treated that student badly because of it. It was difficult for him. Story 77. Teacher who was unfaithful to his wife with a student and then left with that student. 2 teachers engaged in a relationship in one of their classrooms. One of the teachers was a lesbian. This occurred in a very rural, politically conservative area. Story 78. The head of the music department was rumored to solicit a random teenager to be with his wife. This was confirmed in the newspaper. He had a European flair, and I ended up serving him and his wife at a Thai restaurant later that summer. Story 79. Rumor was that the chorus and drama teacher was gay. I had never heard that before, except he was gay and, unfortunately, an absolute creep who got arrested for creating fake social media accounts to talk to boys at my middle school. I didn't believe it until he was pulled out of class one day and never came back. The next day, he was on the news getting arrested, and I have heard nothing about him since. Story 80. Our high school nurse, who had 2 children at the school, was sexually assaulting multiple students during my junior and senior years from 2008 to 2010. She was eventually caught. I felt very sorry for the students because I was friends with her daughter and knew her son. I had known that nurse since I was probably 5 years old. Feels strange. Story 81. The rumor in our school was that the headmaster and deputy headmistress were having an affair. I dismissed it at the time as school kid gossip. About 15 years after leaving, I bumped into my old French teacher on a night out, and this subject came up. She confirmed it to be absolutely true. Story 82. A young female art teacher at the Catholic school I attended in the 1990s was involved with students. The school conducted a serious investigation. I was in her sports class and was called in to answer questions, but found no evidence of inappropriate relationships with male students or staff. 12 months later, a scandal emerged when it was discovered she was dating 3 female students from the senior student body and one female staff member simultaneously. The students were all of legal age, and she did not violate any school policies, so no legal action was taken. She left teaching, changed her name from Amanda to Mandy, and became a physiotherapist in the northern region. Story 83. A male teacher volunteered for everything. He helped with costumes for drama and musicals. He often walked through locker rooms after games while students were showering. A friend's older brother advised avoiding him at all costs. Every student heard the stories. The year after we graduated, he was caught with a male student. He was immediately fired. Story 84. One of the security guards was reportedly in a relationship with one of the university softball players. When she graduated, they became officially connected on MySpace, and she became pregnant about a year later. They are no longer together. Story 85. Rumor at a Catholic middle school where a married 8th grade teacher slept with the married janitor. It all turned out to be true. She even made kids pass notes to him. The 8th grade teacher was my grandmother, and I was in 6th grade. He ended up suing her and the school for sexual harassment. The school ended up going bankrupt because of it. Story 86. The principal's daughter was involved in inappropriate behavior. A girl we all grew up with was caught having a relationship with our woodshop teacher. The art teacher, as I understand it, is still evading authorities in Mexico for taking inappropriate photographs of underage female classmates. Story 87. Catholic school, we had a priest who died by hanging, but everyone said it was an autoerotic asphyxiation incident. All the adults dismissed the rumor. It was later confirmed to be an autoerotic asphyxiation incident. Story 88. Not me, but my mom. This was in the 1970s. The female physical education teacher was involved with a popular girl in my mom's physical education class. My mom hated physical education and was failing. She caught the student and the physical education teacher at the movies together one Saturday and got an A for the rest of the year. Story 89. That the girl who got straight A's in biology but failed the state standardized test for biology. Yes. She was having an inappropriate relationship with the biology teacher. Story 90. One of our much older teachers was featured in Playboy when she was younger. We looked through back issues at the library and could not find her. Others insisted they had seen her. Story 91. Rumor had it that everyone's favorite substitute teacher was a heavy marijuana user. He had long hair and was generally just a cool guy. He never got the typical substitute treatment because he had the energy and was one of us, but it was never inappropriate. Then a rumor started that he was seen smoking marijuana in the school parking lot, which escalated to him being labeled a heavy marijuana user. I don't know what came of that discipline-wise, but everyone heard it. Anyway, about 4 years after graduating, my friends and I were at a bar, and he was there playing guitar in a band. He immediately asked us if we wanted to smoke marijuana with him. Story 92. I think this is common, but there was a rumor about tunnels under the school. They said they led all the way to the middle school, about half a mile away. I didn't give it any credit until I went underground at the school to set up for a graduation ceremony and saw corridors longer than I could see, although it was dark. Likely, they were just under a large part of the school for storage, the boiler room, and similar things like pipes. It is technically possible they went that far, and I can see how someone would start the rumors. If you don't explore much of it, it certainly feels more like a series of tunnels than a basement. A little creepy, but ultimately normal. Story 93. The middle school health teacher was having an inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old freshman. She was struggling with a challenging home life and was staying with him and his wife as a respite. I was called to the assistant principal's office and reprimanded for repeating the rumor to a classmate. I found out 20 years later that it was true. Story 94. In 1982, it was rumored that a teacher was dating a junior. She graduated in June 1983, and they married soon afterward. They are still married to this day. It was also rumored that one of the female English teachers would have a party and intimate relations with newly graduated football players. This was confirmed to be true. I did not play football. Story 95. The chorus and theater teacher was dating his underage student. They both swear they were not dating beforehand, but he cast himself as the lead in a play so they could kiss on stage. They got married as soon as she graduated. He was discreetly disciplined for the situation. Story 96. The chemistry teacher was pregnant. All the students figured it out months before she announced it because she stopped coming to school hungover. She denied it for a long time, and when she finally announced it, she asked how we knew. We all said, "You stopped coming in hungover." She tried to deny that too, but we pointed out all the times she decided class would be spent watching Mythbusters while she held her head and took a couple of Advil. We hadn't had a class like that in months. Story 97. Rumor was the new choir teacher was inappropriate. I was in his class and he wanted to measure the girls for their dresses. We all refused. He quit the next year and went to another school. He was caught asking a girl for her phone number at the other school, which led many girls from my school to say he made strange jokes and innuendos. It is not entirely true because he has never been legally charged, but still. Do not talk to the teacher who air guitars with his leg on top of a desk to Stroke Me by Billy Squier. Just do not. Story 98. I have a few. A physical education teacher used to shower every lesson with every class he had. The year the school stopped compulsory showers is the year he decided to retire. Make of that what you will. My year 7 mathematics teacher was a stripper. It turned out to be true when a group of year 13 students went to the local strip club and saw her. A history teacher was somehow finding the Snapchats of girls and sending them explicit images and videos of himself. He formed some sexual relationships and eventually got fired when found out. He would only do it with the higher years 11 to 13, so people 16 and older, as the age of consent is 16 in the United Kingdom. I think that's why he was never arrested. In the final year, a girl in my year was sleeping with a physical education teaching assistant. They got found out and he was fired. Story 99. My high school had a phantom pooper. Turds would be found all over the school. Hallways, lunch cafeteria tables, bathroom sinks, and the gym basketball floor. The rumor was that it was the weird, shy kid who never talked to anybody and never had friends. He was always bullied, so I didn't think it was really him. I just thought it was the usual bully and weird kid situation. The school finally got tired of it and installed cameras throughout the building. Turned out the weird, shy kid was the phantom pooper. Story 100. My human geography teacher was sending noodles to kids in my grade. I only saw the one with the caption, "Last one for now." There were no charges since the students were 18-year-old seniors. She quit, and I have no idea what happened to her. I assume she got divorced. Story 101. The soccer coach was involved in an inappropriate relationship with one of the girls on the team. He was married to one of the high school teachers, and both were friends of the girl's family. They remained married and continued their friendship with the family. He lost his job, and the girl went on to attend university. Story 102. A gym teacher and coach was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a student. The rumor lasted about a year. The student did not return the following year, and the gym teacher displayed a new photo in his office of the student holding a baby. Story 103. The band teacher dated a classmate during high school. She was 2 years younger than me and was dating my best friend. He was married and had 2 sons, one of whom was her classmate. In the end, he got divorced and lost touch with his sons. My friend broke up with her, and both the teacher and the girl still play together in a wedding orchestra. That was over 10 years ago. Story 104. A mature-age student, 19 years old, was in a relationship with the English teacher. They moved in together the week after the final exams. Story 105. One of the teachers in my middle school was a child predator. He substituted our class once, but we were made to walk down to his classroom. It was everyone's only time being there, as it wasn't our section of the school. He had cameras set up in all 4 corners and would record the footage and play it live while sitting at his desk. It disturbed the whole class. Later that same year, he was arrested after trying to lure an underage individual online from another local middle school. After the search warrant was executed, it was made public that the police found illegal material on his computer. The next few weeks felt very dark. Most other teachers in our section looked extremely tired, and a few were openly crying on and off. Assignments were minimal, and many students were kept home as every parent was notified immediately. Everyone who did attend school wasn't doing much other than talking about it. There were many reading sessions. It was a very harrowing experience. Story 106. My high school conditioning coach ended up having a relationship with a junior. She was fired, of course, and opened a high-end Pilates studio a few years later. She was probably in her mid to late 50s when this happened. Not the most attractive woman, think skinny, spent too much time in the sun. So her skin was like leather, platinum blonde pixie cut, dark eyeliner, and thin drawn-on lips and eyebrows. She was very nice and one of my favorite teachers, but she struggled to keep her personal life private. Story 107. Two teachers were having an affair. I was joking about it during the school year, but it turns out they publicly announced their relationship less than a year later. Story 108. Many students complained, which led to an ineffective teacher being dismissed. The job posting for the position was found shortly afterward. Story 109. The physical education teacher was being inappropriate with girls. He was found guilty, but nothing happened because the judge said he was well loved in the community. Two teachers who had dating rumors ended up married with children. Another teacher had an affair with a different married pair of teachers who later divorced. There was a lot of drama. Story 110. Worked in a small town. Several students formed relationships with teachers over the years. It was always the agriculture teachers, and it was not the same one. Story 111. A missing student was found dead. Police blamed the janitor, but rumors said it was a teacher, the principal's son, who was obsessed with her. Reportedly, the principal paid to cover it up. The teacher disappeared. Case closed, but not really. Story 112. Mr. Brown and Mrs. Dawson were in a relationship. Both got divorced and then married each other. Mrs. Brown worked at the same school. Story 113. The principal was violent. I heard he was awful from people who had interacted with him and that he would change personalities in an instant. I always felt he appeared very plastic and superficial. Often, someone would tape papers around the school calling him evil, fake, and other profanities. Later, he was arrested for punching his son. His family had a restraining order against him, and since his son attended our school, he never returned to work. They did not officially fire him until much later. Story 114. The rumors about two of the English teachers having an affair were true. He then left his wife and children for her, and she changed schools. Another story involved my science teacher being a sexual offender. 10 years later, he was sent to prison for grooming a student. Story 115. A female teacher gave male students oral sex for extra credit in 10th grade English. A biology teacher had whiskey in her coffee cup on her desk. Story 116. The police found inappropriate material on my physics teacher's computer. He had also been arrested before and ran for public office but was never elected. Many girls and a few boys suspected he was a pedophile, but he never stayed in jail for long. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.